I tried to forget it, that first day. I had lost nearly everything. The years spent toiling, looking for answers when all I had to do was wait. It was all for nothing. It had been inevitable. The cut was more than just a gash in the earth. With it came every horror imaginable. It wasn't just the beginning, it was the end. The end of us all. Damn, I muttered as I leaned back in my office chair. I was beat. Nearly 2 decades I dedicated my life to the study of these anomalous events, and I felt no closer to figuring out anything than when I first started. Every new discovery led to more questions, every path splitting off into new directions. As exciting as it was, it just gave me the biggest headache. We just didn't have enough manpower to handle all of it. Everyone eventually either burned out from the horror of it all or were reassigned to the field team to help handle the more serious events in person. The organization couldn't afford to hire more researchers, so that just left my pile of work to get larger and larger. My gaze drifted back across the desk, over my ever-growing pile of books, notes, and reports. What was really worrying me was the increasing lethality of these incidents. At first, most of the events that came across my desk were relatively harmless. Abnormal, for sure, but otherwise inoffensive and benign. But recently, more and more of these creatures were resorting to violence. Some had similar patterns, some seemed to kill at random, and some acted like wild animals hunting their victims. I sighed and closed my eyes just for a moment, feeling the weight of my tired body sink into the leather. I just needed a minute of rest. Then I'd get back to it. The phone rang, startling me awake. I groggily fished around in my pocket, so I found it. It was my wife. "Hey, honey, it's gonna be another late night. I have another..." "James, you need to get home now." "Now? What? What's going on, Kim?" "It's happening. You were right. We need to get the kids and leave." "What? What do you mean You mean about the creatures? What happened?" "Yes, them. Please come home now. I'm nearly at the school. I will meet you at the house." "Wait, hold on. Kim!" The line went dead. I stared at the phone for a minute, stunned into silence. She had to be talking about my idea that all the recent events were just a precursor to something big, something potentially catastrophic. Excitement at the thought that I was right jolted through me before it was quickly quashed by the heavy weight of fear for myself and my family. I snapped back to reality and jumped to my feet. I quickly gathered my things and ran out the door. My building was pretty close to the heart of the city. As I left the front entrance, I slid to a stop. It was early afternoon, but the sky was dark, almost red. Cars were bumper to bumper in the street, horns blaring and people screaming at each other. I started to hurry towards my car before realizing it was a fruitless endeavor. I'd barely make it out of the parking lot, much less down the street. I swore under my breath as I began to make my way quickly down the sidewalk, clutching my bag as I swerved past people haphazardly running everywhere. Luckily, I only lived a couple of miles from here. It was still a good 25-minute walk or so. I could maybe make it in 15 if I ran. Then I heard it. A cracking sound far off in the distance, but heading my way. I quickened my pace to a sprint, pushing past people who stopped in horror. This was no natural disaster. This was something much, much worse. I sprinted until my townhouse came into sight, quickly turning up the stairs. The door was unlocked. As I entered, I nearly bowled over my wife, who was waiting in the doorway. "James, thank God you're here." "Where are the kids?" "Upstairs, they're fine. What is this?" "It's like we were telling me about the thing with the anomalies." "Yes, this is exactly what I was talking about. Monsters showing up in the streets, increasing in frequency over time. It was all building up to something, to this, whatever this is, some sort of great reset or..." The ground began to shake, snapping me out of my rant. Kim screamed and hurried upstairs to grab the kids. "We need to go," she yelled. The bubble of dread in my chest was growing almost exponentially. I wasn't sure there was anywhere we could go. I took a deep, shaking breath, steeling myself. I couldn't let my family see how fearful I was. They needed to believe that we could get out. I grabbed an old backpack out of the closet and ran into the kitchen, throwing a kitchen knife, can opener, and every can and water bottle in our pantry into it. Then I went upstairs and helped Kim lead the kids out of the house. The ground kept shaking. It didn't stop. I could see in the distance houses toppling, crumbling. We began to run in the opposite direction, me leading the way, holding one of my kids' hands, Cam holding onto the other child. We staggered for miles, past the smoking ruins of the city that I'd grown up in, past flipped cars, past the cries of people trapped in the rubble. I closed my eyes and ears to all of it. I truly don't know if I would have stopped if I were alone, but I had my family with me. I pushed my horror down deep inside, and I pushed forward. We crested a hill, and I made the mistake of looking back. The ground was split in half, splitting us from the other half of the city. The canyon stretched from horizon to horizon, stone and rubble toppling into it. I could see the far side getting farther away. Already the gap looked at least a mile wide, a gaping maw that swallowed everything in its path. When I think about what happened that day, I only see a crimson smile, a blood-stained cut in the earth. Everything was worse after that. To my chagrin, I'd been right. That was just the beginning.